Schools have evolved dramatically. Should we still be playing by the same rules? With rapid changes happening across the 13,000 school districts in the country, and the federal government last year not offering any real vision or guidance for a scalable solution, many school principals, district leaders, and teachers look to their state education agencies, or SEAs, for direction. Direction on when should we reopen? How should we deploy surveillance testing? How should we track attendance and remote learning? How should we measure student performance or deliver grades for completion? SEAs are collaborating with one another and revisiting the rules. The conversations they started with were about how much accountability, assessment, and academic rigor should we expect from our institutions that are struggling to deliver high-quality instruction. However, now the conversation is evolving as SEAs decide what is acceptable for the future. I had the privilege of sitting down with Angélica Infante-Green, the Commissioner of Education for Rhode Island. The commissioner began her career as a classroom teacher in the South Bronx, later becoming a dual language program project director and holding a number of positions in New York City and New York State Department of Education. Before becoming commissioner at Rhode Island Department of Education, she served as deputy commissioner of the New York State Education Department's Office of Instruction Support, P12. There she helped close achievement gaps, increase the graduation rate, and build frameworks to create student-centered learning and an environment that allows all cultures to be respected while going through public school. She's the first Latina and the first woman of color to lead the Rhode Island Department of Education.
Hi, I'm Angélica Infante-Green. I'm the Commissioner of Education for the wonderful state of Rhode Island. We were one of the first states impacted in schools. We got hit in February with a school trip that came back from Italy. The kids were in a private school, but we shared the bus. So what we learned as a state is that we have to work collaboratively, even with private schools, places that we had never collaborated with before. So we're like one entity. So we had never done that. Every district kind of did their own thing. We held our first statewide summer school led by our kids, our high school kids, worked with professors and teachers. Kids showed up. We had a little broccoli and a little ice cream. So we had like fun stuff like coding. The kids helped design it. And we're going to continue to do this statewide work because what we have is kids from the urbans and suburbans in the same classroom, very different. Kids that would never be sharing an educational experience now together. Talking about breaking down racial barriers, economic barriers, we're going to do that.
If we're going to create more agency for students and allow them to have a voice in their education system, the time is now for SEAs to loosen up their guard and control to truly partner with their students to rebuild what was broken.
Before the pandemic, there was this one kid, Pedro. He came in and he looked really tired and he said to me, I'm tired. I had to work construction last night. I have to pay the rent. And when those jobs come up, I have to pay, I have to work. So I needed to take a nap. Can you tell teachers that it's okay for me to take a 15-minute nap? So I've kept him in my mind. And I thought about, why do we have to keep doing school the same way we've done it for 100 years? Why can't he have a more flexible schedule? Why can't we give him algebra at a different time or online for that day or when he needs it? Why do we keep wanting to have kids fit our mold? That time has passed. So we have to get creative. We are going to reinvent all our high schools in Rhode Island. What we offer, what we do, how we do them. This is our opportunity. This is what we're calling forced innovation.
Forced innovation is not always fun and a commonplace for SEA leaders who are responsible for compliance and auditing school performance. It is difficult because when things go wrong or not as planned, the public often blames the SEA, making it hard to be a place that stimulates original, cutting-edge policies and innovation. However, just last year, Ms. Infante-Green and her state officials revised policies that allowed retired teachers to come back to the classroom without losing their pension benefits. The order was signed December 30th, and it waived existing requirements that made retired teachers who had a state pension have to pause once they worked past 90 days of the year. The order requires school districts to inform the Employees Retirement System of Rhode Island that a retiree is needed because of the pandemic and is not being employed past June 25th. The change was made due to the solving a teacher shortage as students returned back to school in person. Another example of this is that the state is dealing with policy barriers around attendance. Due to the pandemic, several parents chose to homeschool their students, leaving public school attendance at an all-time low. Low attendance impacts the budget for the following year, which means unless we change when the schools have to count and submit their attendance, schools will be financially stretched as families become comfortable sending their students back for the school year.
We have a lot of English language learners, or what we call multilingual learners here in Rhode Island. And that's a shortage area everywhere in the country. Guess what? We're partnering with other countries, right? There are no more barriers. There just aren't. They're only barriers if we see them as barriers. Because I have seen these as opportunities for us. The hard part is going to be executing and gently guiding people in that direction, right? Because when all this is said and done, people are going to want to go back. There's this feeling like we lost what was normal to us. And there's a lot of danger in us going back and then just doing like a little Zoom meeting or something like that. And once we've embedded in higher ed, in our licensing, in our practice, in our expectations, it's going to be different. And that's what we do. It's policy, right? So we have a rare opportunity right now to really guide policy to be innovative. And nobody ever thinks of policy and innovation together in a sentence, but this is the time.
The idea of collaborating with countries, breaking down barriers, and revising old rules with students shows endless possibilities for SCAs as we begin to think of the new school year. Commissioner Infante-Green's story starts with her grandmother as a principal in a one-room schoolhouse in the Dominican Republic. Her parents migrated here to break down barriers and expand possibilities for their family, allowing her to be a first-generation college student. Leaders like her understand the old system needs to be questioned and asked, what is its purpose? Because during these ever-changing times, the system might be the thing holding back young Americans who look more like her and resonate with her story. Thank you for watching This Week in Education. If you know a school, an educator, or an event that needs to be highlighted, don't hesitate to reach out. Until then, keep changing the world.